All right. The guys are back. We are back with another season of Run It Back. We've been waiting to do this for quite a minute. I think we got a good one today. But as always, I'm your boy Prime. Source, how you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. Glad to do season three.
I think
Is it
it's
season three?
season three. I think it's season
Season
three.
three. I'm running back, man.
Yep, yep. And for those who are not aware, it's first time checking us. We go back and find movies, some old, some maybe not so old, and we go back and review them. And they're not all sports movies, even though we are a sports group in the SBP. If you're not in it, come join us over on Facebook. But this first one is today's choice is going to be the 1998 film, written, produced, and directed by Spike Lee, and it's going to be He Got Game, starring, of course, Ray Allen and Denzel Washington. Man, so this ought to be a really good one. So, have you had a chance to rewatch it recently?
Yeah, actually, I just rewatched it just to remember some of the specifics of the movie. Because it had been a minute, but yeah, it's the same movie as I remember it as.
Yeah, for me too. For me too. I hadn't watched it for a while. There was quite a few times that I would flip through the channels and it would be on, and I'd catch at a certain part. But it had been a while since I sat back and watched it from beginning to end. And just like you, some things that I remembered, and there was quite a few things that I had forgotten or don't know if I ever really, realized were in the film when I first saw it years ago.
Hmm.
Well, I will say though, for starters, though, to take us into it, the movie itself, it kind of starts out like a lot of the good sports movies, even some just documentaries do this as well, where they're kind of taking you all over the place. So, but it's all tied into the essence of the point that they're trying to get across, or at least a partial theme of the actual movie, documentary, whatever. And that is they're showing people playing basketball everywhere. So we got basketball going on in the country. We got basketball going on in the deep country. We got it in the regular, like in the suburbs area. We got it definitely at the city playground. So we're seeing basketball being played um, for the love of it at various parts of all over, all the states, man. And to me, that always, there's always something that really got me going when watching the movie. When I'm like, okay, they really setting the tone for what this thing might be about. And I think we saw something sort of similar, maybe not to the full extent, back when we did Blue Chips. There's some scenes like that as well, where you start seeing basketball being played at various parts. But that kind of set the tone for me right from the beginning.
Indeed, yeah. Because basketball is universal. It's not a lot of things that are universal to that level, but thankfully for us, hip hop and basketball are both transcendent in that way and universal, loved across the world. So, yeah, it's a solid way to start the movie off to make sure everybody knows that they are uh, a part of this thing.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. And of course, for those who have seen it or not seen it and seen it a while, we know it pretty much deals with Jesus Shuttlesworth, played by NBA basketball player, former NBA basketball player Ray Allen. And basically, he's the number one player in the country, basketball wise. Of course, if you ask his father, played by Denzel Washington, he's he's trying to be modest a little bit when they asked about him being number one player in the country. Well, he's in some boards he's number one, some boards he's number two, he's number three, and number four. But his father Jake, which is Denzel, is in jail, and he gets summoned down to the warden's office, and the warden tells him, say, look, the governor is thinking about possibly cutting some time off your sentence. Because I believe it was I think it's supposed to get like 15 years or whatever. Cutting some time off your sentence. If you can get your son to commit to play basketball for his alma mater, um, which was, what was it, Big State? Big,
Big
fictitious
state.
name. Fictitious name. But yeah, yeah. So, but that was really interesting. That I don't know if that would ever really ever happen. We've seen some shady stuff, right? It happened over the years of things that we find out, but that's kind of crazy in itself. Like I'm gonna save half off your sentence some time off your sentence if you can get him to come to my alma mater and play for us.
Hey, it's the governor. It's not like he can't do it. Pardon him for whatever reason you want to pardon him for. But yeah, that's a lot of love for your college there.
Whole lot of love for your school, man. And so they actually gonna let Jake out of jail. You know what I'm saying, for a week to get out so he can try to reconnect, talk to his son. And I guess they don't really care so much about his relationship with him, but try to talk to his son and get him to go in there. So they actually let this dude out, man. And I'll go ahead and tell you, and we'll talk about various characters throughout this, but every time I see the part when he first meet one of the parole officers, he had two of them. One of them was Jim Brown. Man, Jim Brown was coming hard as he come on him. Like authentic, rest in peace. And recently passed away, football legend Jim Brown. But yeah, Jim Brown was like he was to me he was money in this. He was funny, man.
Absolutely, he was on his neck too. He was not playing around. He was letting them know, you're just an inmate for real, for real. That's all. And that is probably the bottom line. He is just an inmate. He just happened to be an inmate with something to help out the people in the big seats.
Yeah, indeed. And I guess they were probably getting pretty well. But so the relationship between Jake and of course the two parole officers, the whole thing to me was hilarious. And as we dive into Jake Denzel's character, right? First thing that comes to mind when I think about this, so because they really Spike wanted to paint the picture of just how real it was out in the streets and how, not only how much the streets had affected, Denzel living, when he was out, but also, the prison system had affected him. Because two things come to mind. First of all, was when, because they set him up, got him a little room in this spot. I don't know, like not even a hotel, like a room. I don't even know what it was, but they got him a spot and set him up. Of course, it was definitely, lower income. But we see the scene when they come to see Jake. My man is in there making a grilled cheese sandwich with the iron, bro. He got the iron in full effect.
That is the ingenuity levels of. I don't know if that. I mean, that's not inmate life. They ain't walking around with irons. But that is definitely being poor life, for real.
When you learn the streets.
Got to use some ingenuity sometimes.
The next thing too, though, what I thought was hilarious. So they gave him some money, to get something to eat, get some, toiletries, whatever, clothes over the whole 9 yards. My man Jake goes out and buys a pair of Air 13s, some Jordans, man. Jordans. You know how much they cost, right? Even back then, opposed to what he couldn't get. But he went out there and bought some Jordan sneakers. And not just to look good in, but to play ball in them.
Yeah, I don't really get that part. I mean, I get it. It's Spike Lee. It's Jordan. And, I get that connection. But just for... I don't understand. I don't understand the point of that. That went over my head if it was something deep.
Definitely deep. And I thought about all the things that it could be. I mean, sometimes he just, in his mind, I wanted to look good. I wanted, to, when I go see my son, I don't want to look good. You know what I'm saying? But I want to look good to everybody else while I'm out here. I also want to feel like, in a small sense that I am something. I mean, I'm being locked away in this system for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Let me get something to worth going, while I'm out here, at least on my feet. There's a lot of things in that, but Spike can always throw a lot of things in there. Some of them work really well. Some of them just Spike being Spike, like, okay, it's a Spike Lee movie, I get it.
That's deep though. That's deep. Just the trying to feel like you're worth something, which is why a lot of people that are not, as financially stable as they would want to be, still end up buying expensive clothes and shoes. That could have been the actual point right there.
Indeed. And we found out too during the movie, of course, they let you know later on through a flashback scene. So he's in jail, of course, because he accidentally kills his wife. which was his son Jesus' mother. And so, of course, there's a lot of friction even before then between Jesus and Jake. But of course, that's kind of like the icing on the cake. So we find out he gets, he gets the 15-year bid, and I believe in this movie. Correct me if I'm wrong. They made note of it. I believe he was in jail at this point for about 6 years.
Yeah, so I don't know if his sentence was 15 or if he was sentenced like 21,
And he
22, and he had
right.
already done 6.
Yeah. Indeed, that was deep, though. That whole situation with him was deep. And we never talk about this at all for a lot of reasons. And I get it, of this being one of Denzel's standout parts. And I remember before I'm rewatching this movie recently, I never thought of it that way. And I still don't think of it that way. But I will admit, I give him a lot more credit, him personally, for his acting in this movie than I did off of memory, right? Like, because I'm not of the point it's because somebody is a great actor or a great actress that everything they're in that they're great at. I didn't talk about the movie; they're great in it, right? I do remember coming in to rewatching this again. I just thought also Denzel was just out there. He was okay, but it was nothing great. And I'm not saying it's great now, but I do think he was a little bit better upon the recent watch than I actually gave him credit for.
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job in the movie. I don't really know any Denzel movies that I don't think he did a really good job in.
Right.
People say, for whatever reason, people like to say Denzel plays the same character all the time.
Right.
I get it. I get it as far as being the strong guy, regardless if he's really strong or not. The strong guy, strong lead, and usually his way is his way or no other way as far as with his characters. So I do get that people say that, but yeah, he played the role. He did a great job to me. Great job to me.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no disrespect to him on that. Just not a role for me that sticks out immediately. But yeah, he definitely did a good job in that movie. Also, I mentioned this movie as well. We were talking earlier about some of the things we've seen in other movies and other sports movies, especially. I do like to sprinkle in, of course, of all of the legendary people, coaches, players, and things that we get a quick shot at. When they were painting the picture, just how special Jesus was.
Mm-hmm.
We seen shots of most of these people, unfortunately, are no longer with us. You think about Dean Smith and John Thompson and John Chaney, Lute Olson,
Yeah.
Bobby Crimmins, the recently retired Jim Boeheim. They're all in this movie.
Yeah,
Then,
you said John Thompson, George Raveling.
George Raveling, yep.
And Mike Krzyzewski.
Yep. Coaches everywhere. Then, of course, the players were in abundance. We saw Reggie in there. We saw Rick Fox, who plays a part in the movie. We saw Barkley. We saw Scottie Pippen. We saw Coach George Karl.
Walter McCarty.
Walter. Yeah.
Travis Best.
Yeah. These guys. This is what's crazy to me, moving on to those guys, right? So John Wallace. You got John Wallace right there. Then, of course, you got Hill Harper. Hill Harper playing Booger, who was his, cousin, childhood friend.
Cousin.
And I will admit, as we're talking about character, and shout out to Hill Harper, because Hill Harper played a lot of roles, right? But he looked, to me, he looked a little out of place in this one. And I get what they were going for. Don't get me wrong. I get what they were going for in this movie, because if you go back and you watch, you've played basketball and you've seen a lot of movies, and there's teams we've seen where you may have a team where there's a star and there might be 2 or 3 guys on a championship, style squad that are going to play D1 basketball, or at least going to go into college. Then there's always the other guy on the team who's that's a regular guy. He's an integral part of what they do, but he's part of the squad.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And he's good. He might not be superstar status, but he's, he grew up with him. He plays ball. He fits what they do. You know what I'm saying? They boys, and that's Hill Harper in this. But I think I wasn't a huge fan of not gonna say his portrayal, but his acting in this movie. I don't even know if he was the right person for this part.
His character, yeah. I didn't really love his character. You know, guess he was necessary for the movie, and somebody had to be annoying. It had to be a contrast. So he was that. Then he was related to him, so he had to be around.
Right.
And he was in the house before the whole uh, unfortunate scene happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was an integral part to the movie. But yeah, I feel what you're saying.
Well, the first thing I thought about when I saw these guys, and I don't know if it's a great comparison because the movie was really about Jesus Shuttlesworth, but seeing these guys, and you remember they were introducing them and they were showing them. I think a lot of these guys were still juniors, like had another year of school left, so we don't know what happened to these guys. But the first thing I thought about when they were posing for like this picture, and then they emulated the picture. One of the, I think it was the old Sports Illustrated cover. I think, or that's one of them. Anyway, was that the Boys of Dunbar, which is a great book. ESPN did a documentary, but it was called The Baltimore Boys, and of course that was the legendary team from back then with the Muggsy Bogues, Reggie Williams, David Wingate, and then you had a Reggie Lewis as a six man.
Yeah, I forgot about Reggie Lewis was on that
Yes.
squad until I saw the picture. I saw it again. I hadn't seen it in some years, but I saw it maybe Friday, and I was like, "Yo, I forgot all about Reggie Lewis being on this squad. That's out of control."
What else is out of control on that? A lot of people don't know, and people who know don't remember. Is that so? They at one point or another they had a squad of amount of years that went something like 60-0 at that legendary institution. What's even crazier was the coach was Bob Wade, William Wade, Bob Wade, and we know, of course, it took over for Lefty Driesell when Lefty got out of there because of the Len Bias stuff and all that. But people don't know or remember that Bob Wade played in the NFL. He was a football player, a DB. You know what I'm saying? He had some stints with the Steelers, Broncos. I know he played for about 3 teams, I think, during his career. But then what was a legendary high school basketball coach, as well as, coached in college in Maryland. So interesting. So anybody watching this, go back and check the documentary on ESPN Films, or if you're a reader, go read the book. I do have the book around here somewhere. It's a really good read. But back to this movie though, man. I think we've talked about. I think Hill Harper in this particular film, he just felt like I like the way they made the character. I would like to see somebody else playing in this one. He looked a little bit too goofy for me at times. You can not be the guy and be the small guy and all that. Not really, as goofy as they made him. In my opinion, in this particular flick. Another character in this movie, though, man, and it's I wanted to ask you about to get your thoughts. And my opinion is going to be a little biased for a lot of reasons, and you probably know why. But what do you think about Lala in this movie, played by Rosario Dawson?
Okay, I'm glad you asked me this question. I think that she played the role, like I think she did a great job in this role. I thought she was great in this role. She played it well. She played it perfectly to me. I thought there was no flaws. Consequently, since this role, I have never fully been able to like Rosario Dawson. Never. I've never liked Rosario Dawson, and I think it all goes back to this role because,
wow.
Yeah, she played it so well that it's like, think about if there was no Ghost, if there was no Power season 2 or show 2 Ghost, right? Then the same people that hated Tariq so much from the original Power,
Mm-hmm.
they'd still not like the guy in real life. Like we've seen videos of people, of him even acting like somebody's, mad at him in real life
Right.
because he played Tariq. Well, I don't like Rosario Dawson just based on that. Just based on that, it's got to be all from that movie because she's played other good roles that I've seen and liked. But
Right.
yeah, the character she played, I disliked so much that I really have never loved Rosario Dawson.
And it's funny you say that because it reminds me of buddy of mine, real close. We used to work together. He said the same thing in about for years when my love for Sanaa Lathan. And he was like, man, let me tell you something. Have you seen The Family That Prays?
I knew that's what you were gonna say.
And I said, man, she can do no wrong. I ain't seen it yet. He said, well, me and the wife went to see it. You're going to have a different opinion about her after you watch this movie. I said, man, I don't care what she did in the movie, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what she did in the movie. Whatever. I'm going to love her regardless. But I get it. I get what you're saying, And no, that movie didn't change my opinion on it. I
She
still
played that.
love Sanaa Lathan.
Hey, Sanaa killed that role though.
Yes, she did. Yes, he did. It made me well, we'll talk about that. I was thinking about another movie that we may do later. She was in and not the main character, but yeah. So, but I get what you're saying about Rosario Dawson. But I think in this movie, I think she really played it. And the argument would be I was being online. I was seeing online as folks. Somebody was saying that she was no good the whole time, and I don't think that was the case. I think the case was she actually was straightforward with him. She loved him, was straightforward with him initially, because we find out a lot of stuff happened between them before the the agents and stuff came in and tried to get her to persuade him to do certain things. But after a while, that money started talking, and she started thinking about her life after the fact. Things just really kind of went left. I don't think she had a whole lot of trust and a whole lot of faith that he was gonna stick with her when if he made it big.
I get that. I get that. That's tough right there. Was she good before the money offer? That's a good one because I was gonna say she was not a. I mean, she was not a good character. I mean, she was not a good person. And of course, people are not good or bad, generally speaking. People are somewhere in between, and you flow from being good to bad depending on the situation.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I like what you said though.
If you go back to the history, like we don't know, but just we lead to believe because they were talks of I guess evidently at one time there was a pregnancy and some things that age. The movie to me, the way I saw it, led me to believe that this whole agent thing just came about at that particular time. Whereas we find during all the talks and things, they actually had a little bit of history beforehand. Unless you just figure she's one of them girls that was just with him because he was a star. We see that in the quarterback movies. You feel me?
Here's the question, Prime.
Yeah.
What's my man's name?
Which one?
Not DeAndre. What was his name? Not the agent, but the middleman.
You talking about the street dude that was driving that took him to school?
No, not him. No, not the agent. The guy that worked with the agent.
Oh, his name escapes, but I know you're talking about. Yeah.
He was all up on her while she was on the phone telling that
Yeah.
man that she loved him.
Yeah.
So was she good?
We don't know how long that was going on, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she had already lost hope by that time when he started getting to it with the money. I don't know. I don't know. That is a darn good question, and we would never know at this point. But I would like to. If I ever got a chance at even a Comic-Con, because she does come to Comic. She's done tons of stuff. The last Netflix joint she had. Then of course she was in Luke Cage when Marvel had the Netflix series. She was excellent in that. She comes to these cons. She ever comes to GalaxyCon, and I get a chance to meet her, I'm gonna ask her about that. And I'm gonna let you know.
Yes,
So you
yes.
really love that man? Did you really love that man? It was about. I'm gonna ask her. You know what I'm saying? That's the beautiful thing about going to a concert. I know it's not your thing, so but the thing is, sometimes they have the sessions where you in there and they talk. You get to ask questions. You get to go online and ask. I'm gonna ask her that, and if I can't get her, then when I go get her autograph at the signing table and take the picture, I'm gonna ask her. And I'm gonna let you know. But you really
Yes,
love
sir.
her.
I like it.
We'll find out. Um, but that is a good. But I think she played very well in this movie. In that there are a lot of questionable acting in this particular film, but this is not one. I think she was good. One thing though, my guy, may he rest in peace. Wasn't one of his final performances, but it is Bill Nunn, who actually was was their uncle, was Jesus, and the sister was the uncle they were staying with,
Yeah.
was trying to get him to take the money. I don't think his acting performance, he may have overacted a little bit in this particular one, but he was a staple in a lot of Spike Lee films. Of course, we know his Radio Raheem, and Do the Right Thing. Of course, he was the I forget his name, but he was a football player and what's the college joint? School Days. He was a football player.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he played on. And I love Bill Nunn. I told you before, I got a chance to meet him briefly in the airport years ago, coming back from Las Vegas. But yeah, I get what that. And I don't think it was a horrible performance, but not one of his better performances, in my
Oh,
opinion.
I thought it was cool, but yeah.
So on that, trying to think any other performances in this movie. A
You
particular person.
you mentioned you were talking about the guy with the money, big time.
Big time, yeah. Roger Guenveur Smith.
I do not like that guy at all, dog. I don't like that guy in anything outside of
Yeah.
All About the Benjamins. I ain't even like him in that.
He's another Spike Lee staple. Think
Absolutely.
about how many Spike Lee movies he's. There's been at least 4.
Well, he was actually he was good as oh shoot in dang School Days, Fight the Power. What's the joint? What's the title? Oh my gosh, it's just old age. What's the movie?
Was it a Spike Lee joint?
Yeah.
So he played in those 2. He also played in
What's the
what's the first
nah?
joint?
What's the joint? Fight the Power. What is the name of the movie?
Oh, Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That he played that role. He did a good job in that joint.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
played it. There been a ton of movies. I know you used to see him in his face. All About the Benjamin and all that. But he was in Poetic Justice. He was in Malcolm X. I mean, there was a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as a Spike Lee guy, he's a Spike Lee staple.
Absolutely.
Sticking to that script, we had the young lady. Well, she's grown up now. It's funny seeing her pictures on the internet now. But Zelda Harris, that played Jesus' sister, she was married in the movie. Another
Yeah.
she's been in 2, 3. She was in Crooklyn and one of the other movies. She's Spike Lee used to like to keep his people,
Right.
and that kept them working. Man, you definitely got to appreciate Spike for that.
100.
Keeping people working.
Absolutely.
For sure. But a lot of good performances, a couple of great performances, and some to me that were just okay. In that, but
Wait, we didn't speak on Ray Allen.
well, Ray Allen was a basketball guy. They just put in the movie as the main character, just playing a part.
Absolutely.
Look, so to be fair to Ray, I didn't want expecting an Oscar performance, but you can tell he probably ain't took the first acting class.
Yeah, he was not an actor. He was not an actor.
Not at all. Not at all. Even though he did have me wilding, I was laughing at the. And he was trying, man. I mean, Ray, respect Ray. He was trying when he was on that recruiting trip with Rick Fox. Ray was trying, man. Everything showing the campus, the eat and the temptations. It was like everything they were setting up for him.
Right.
But speaking of which, I got a shout out of my girl. What is her name? Mila Jovovich, as well. She was the young lady that was in the wasn't the hotel, the rooming house, whatever it was,
The
that
hooker.
yeah, the hooker. Yeah, she was the hooker.
Prostitute.
Yeah,
Yes.
that your boy Jake ended up interacting with and took an interest in. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I guarantee you to this point, a lot of people don't even remember or realize that that's her. She went on to fame in a lot of other movies, especially the Resident Evil series, which is pretty darn good. Most of them are pretty darn good. So I give a shout out to her as well and her performance in that movie. Um, but yeah, man, that's pretty much it on the as far as I can think of as far as the actual parts of note as far as the actors and things themselves. Um, that first conversation though that Jake and Jesus had on the basketball court was crazy because it was bad enough that he showed up at the crib and and was in the crib in the house with his daughter, that Jake was with his daughter, and Jesus walks in and sees him. But
Mm-hmm.
he's out there trying to break the ice with him and talk to him, still not letting him know the real reason he's there. Um, it was crazy. I remember the first time I saw that, I said, "Watch, this is gonna go left, even far left off top, because he gonna tell him right then and there." And then we're gonna have this whole movie him chasing him, which he didn't tell him, but he still was chasing him the whole movie. But I do think if there was a part that I would really give, I thought Ray for that short period acted pretty good on it. It was that particular scene, that first time. That first time, that was believable to me.
Yeah, Denzel hit him with the "if your mother could see you."
Yeah.
Like, she could if you ain't kill her. That's your fault. That's your fault that she can't see me. Oh man. I'll just throwing this out there. I know we'll probably get to this, but Jake Shuttlesworth, like I said, people flow from being good to not good and all that. Jake Shuttlesworth was not a good person in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Now, I won't say in any way, shape, or form, but generally speaking, that was not a good dude. That was not a good dude. And I know ends up being somewhat the protagonist in the movie, but Jake Shuttlesworth was not a good guy. He wasn't. He wasn't. He wasn't. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
No, look, man, I can see things without seeing them. There was enough in that movie, and you can tell that he was battling a lot of, I don't want to use the word demons, but he was battling some stuff inside. And it could have just been, because we never get a full backstory on his history, or he could have just been a person that wasn't good as a kid. You know what I'm saying? End up meeting a young lady, got married, whatever, had kids, but I could have had a past back then. We don't know his full background. So,
right.
But now I would agree about a lot of things that we see and his mentality. Some of the things we saw during this movie, that he wasn't a good person. I'm not saying he was a cat out here robbing banks, but he probably was the type of cat that out in the streets, whether it was for the good of the family at certain point trying to get money or not, he probably got into some things or ran with a certain crowd, I would think.
I mean, I'm just saying the man, like he was hard on his son, but that's one thing. But even in that, even his friend that's standing to the side while they're on the basketball court was like, "Relax, bro.
Yeah.
You're doing too much."
Yeah.
And then he was drinking, which is probably part of the whole situation as well. Add to that, you got physical with the son in the house, which led to being physical with the mom, which is how we ended up in this whole situation.
And it will make you think that when you wonder that, did he cheat Jesus that way based on things that might have happened with him and his own father, having or not having, and then the drinking aspect? Because we see in real life, and I've seen with athletes, and you talk about certain things. We see these documentaries later, or somebody talk about their story where it affects people differently.
Mm-hmm.
Some people. You never met Fred, but one of my guys, I go to Texas when we go to Cowboy games. He doesn't drink at all. So, and his main reason was because his father, which he loved very much. I did get a chance to meet his father, but his father used to drink a lot, right? He doesn't drink at all. So we joke with him all the time, like when we're out in these trips, whatever. Hey, it might be four of us at the table, and we like, let me get 4 beers, knowing darn well he gonna get lemonade. You see what I'm saying? but he's responsible one. He gonna hold the tickets. He's a designated driver. He's everything. That's my guy. But then we see some people, unfortunately, that a parent may have been an alcoholic, may had a drinking problem, and they do the same thing, So, but I wonder with this story that whether or not Denzel is the way that he is, especially with Jesus, because of things in his childhood with his father,
and him not making it, thinking that he may have wanted to go to the NBA, and him not making it to the NBA, which is a lot of people. I mean, we all think that we should have went to the NBA. We're gonna make it to the NBA, regardless, short, tall. If you played basketball, you thought you was going to the league, and some people put that on their kid and kind of live through them vicariously in a lot of situations, for better or worse. And this could have been one of those situations as well.
Indeed, definitely, indeed. And we found out during this movie that why they called him Jesus, right? Why his father, they named him Jesus. And at first, in the beginning parts of the movie, it kind of makes you think that he might have definitely been a spiritual aspect as far as biblical in why he called him Jesus. Only to find out later that your boy Jake was actually a fan of of Earl Monroe.
Earl
of Pearl Monroe. And we do know in the streets, especially in this early day, that is a name that claim to fame. If you ask people today, they gave him his name that he adopted. So he named him after Earl of Pearl Monroe. Interesting. What's even more probably feeds into your point about how much Jake probably really wanted to be a professional basketball player.
True.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty good. I'll get to one thing I will say as we come close to closing this out is it was something that I didn't really like in the movie. Well, I think it was excessive. And matter of fact, I don't even know if it was necessary. And it was all the sex scenes in the movie. Look, I'm an adult. If you do a sex scene movie, that's fine. I'm with it. This particular movie, a lot of it fell out of place for me. And then the amount that they showed when your boy was sitting there discussing life with him. I was discussing, I thought they were discussing how his life would be. With anyway, they were showing all these various women and performing these acts and things of that nature. To me, it just fell out of place in this movie. Now, I'm not talking about the scene where we didn't really see anything when Jesus was at the college and they had the young ladies waiting. And that's what it is. We know that happens in real life, okay? But when they were showing all those other scenes and what they are, I guess she's legendary to those in the know. Heather Hunter, some of these other people were in some scenes. I just thought they were kind of out of place in this movie. And if you were going to show them, I don't think we needed as much as they showed us, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I feel you on that. The one that was definitely necessary was Jake and
Lala.
Dakota. Jake. Oh no, Jake and Dakota.
Oh, Jake and Dakota. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Because that was interesting.
Yes.
Because she, has been tricking for years. So ain't nobody really treated her any more than like what she was, in that moment. And Jake, who had been locked up for that time, hadn't been with anybody.
Yeah.
Like probably since his wife.
Probably.
Who he loved, who he actually loved,
right.
Regardless of how he was, who he loved, and he treated her, Dakota, like she really meant something to him, even though he had just met her and she was a trick. But he still took that time in that moment to be caring, I guess is the best word.
Yeah, and it looks like he probably, we would think, maybe changed her life a little bit or have to get a fresh start, because we did see her eventually on a bus later on leaving town at some point. So he had some type of impact on her through everything, that happened between the two of them.
Right.
Uh, One somebody we didn't mention, and we're talking about whether or not Rosario Dawson's character was a snake or not, was the coach.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm his high school coach. I had to offer them, what the youngest call it? Is it 10 bands? Is it band? That's what that is. I might go and ask my son. But anyway, $10,000 to to help him out. And then we find out this ain't the first time, that it had happened. And Ray was trying to be on the straight and narrow because this whole move, everybody's trying to either convince him to go to a certain school or at least tell him where he's going. So
Right.
the coach is already doing illegal activities, sliding bread, looking out for the family, the whole 9 yards, to help, pay for things. And he wouldn't take. So the coach, it set himself where he made it look like he was looking out, for Jesus, which he also was kind of looking out for his interest because we already know if I'm sliding you 10 bands, I'm talking 10,000, and I can get you to do this, them cats that want you to come over there gonna slide me, I'm probably gonna get 20. You feel me?
Yeah.
20 or 30. So because he won't making that bread on no high school salary.
Exactly. So it basically shows how everybody exploits athletes or everybody exploits the popular person, which we all know that, we've all seen it, and we definitely still see it. But everybody who, I guess, doesn't see a way out or doesn't see a way to change their situation takes advantage or might try to take advantage of proximity to somebody who is the way out or is on their way out and trying to make money off of them. So yeah. Every time it came to a scene where Jesus was like, everybody on me, everybody's at me, it was all based on those people trying to better their own situation off of his talent and his hard work, his wherever he was going to go.
Indeed. So to make it clear for me is like I say, I can deal with, we didn't really see anything. Like I say, I can deal with we get the college thing as far as Rick Fox turning them on to the young ladies. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. With Denzel and an old girl that was out there, I'm cool with that. Even though we didn't see anything on this one either, I'm cool with the whole Ferris wheel situation with Lala, and just okay, it happens, stuff like that, and I get it. I'm cool with that. The rest of the stuff I could have kind of done without on the amount of it in that. As we got towards the ultimate in this movie, like we talked about, so the whole time people either trying to figure out where he's going to school or convince him to find out, or at least speak on has he made his decision. And it ultimately leads to the full week of Jake trying to not only talk with him, but then kind of he comes to him and he lets him know that, look, this is what the deal is. I'm out here. They told me if I can get you to commit to this school, they'll reduce my sentence. That drives even more of a wedge if it could be even further between him and Jesus. And it ultimately led to a scene we've seen played out later in other movies, different circumstances, sort of different things on the line. And towards the end, they show up at the basketball court. Of course, Jake basically tells Jesus, look, you play me in ball, whatever. If I win, you go ahead and sign. You go ahead and go to the big state, big U, whatever. And if not, whatever you do, what you want to do, whatever, I'm gone. This, that, and the third. And they played, of course, after the back and forth. Obviously, at this stage is like Jesus beats his father. And we know come growing up that Jake evidently was always beating Jesus. Jesus was younger.
Right.
Push him to the ground, smacking the ball out of his hand, beating him to toughen him up. And he beats him score. So Jesus beats his father score 11-5. Powerful moment, though, when this is over. Even though Jake has lost, he still walks up to Jesus and tries to ask him to sign. He doesn't sign. And next thing you know, of course, the pro officers are rolling up to come get him. Jake has failed, of course, so he's on his way back to Attica, to the prison, and that's where he ended up, going back to. Powerful scene right there.
I saw a clip of Spike Lee, I believe it was,
Uh-huh.
in an interview recently, and talking about this scene and recording it. And I mean, Spike may have misremembered exactly what happened, but if I remember correctly, he said that Denzel in the script, Ray or Jesus was supposed to win 11-0.
Wow.
Yeah, but Ray didn't know that Denzel played basketball in college.
Oh.
So he gave him a bucket the first time, and I think he said, like, after he scored the bucket, Ray was like, "Hold up, timeout, timeout, time." He called a timeout during the scene, timeout, so they stopped shooting because he didn't understand what was happening. Now, what Spike said was Denzel didn't score another bucket. He ran him straight 11-0 after he scored the one. He straight hit him with 11 straight. And maybe that's true. Maybe that is true. And they added in the other buckets that Denzel got. Maybe Ray did it to prove a point
Right.
in the scene, but in the actual movie, it was 11-5. Yeah.
Interesting. And so we saw when they went back to the jail that Jake really got screwed because although Jesus makes a decision actually to attend Big U, Denzel didn't get the part. Didn't get the time taken off. It's like he basically got used, and the excuse was that he didn't necessarily convince his son to go to the school, just that his son, through his own revelation, decided to go to the school on his own.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. Do you think that Jesus went to Big State because of Jake? Or do you, because I think that Jesus didn't sign the letter of intent that Jake gave him and still went to the school in spite of him. So I don't think he did it in order to get him out, or maybe he had some second thoughts about it. I think he was like, you know what? I'm glad you went back to jail. Watch this though. Boom, I'm going to Big State. And you still will be locked up.
I ain't never thought about it that way. I always assumed that he just had one of those moments where he just took everything in, and he just got out of his feelings just for a brief moment. Still probably holding a lot of resentment towards his father, but maybe to a lesser extent, thinking about everything that happened over that past week, especially that last game, seeing his father just walk off the court, seeing his father, like, because they handcuffed him, bro, immediately. Like he was really about to go somewhere. Like,
not in the front, in the back too, not in the front.
And seeing all that, and I always took it as you know what? Maybe not right at that moment, but it played out for him over the next few days or whatever, how much time he had left. And he decided, regardless of the circumstances, that's my dad or whatever. We still ain't probably gonna never be tight like that, but I'm gonna go. And that's the way I always took it. I'm gonna go ahead and go. Because at the end of the day, even though it seemed like his father, we found out his father didn't have an agenda, right? I mean, of course, it was kind of put on him from that aspect. His father, outside of course, the situation that happened with his mother, was probably the most genuine person he came across. I mean, for the most part, you think about it. We talk about Lala's actions, What did they mean? What they didn't mean that she really love her. The coach, yeah, he looking out for me, but then he giving me more bread. I don't want to take it. He's still trying to get me to take it. What are his motive? I know he about to get it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody seem to be, a lot of people seem to be looking out for him, wanting something. Even your boy Big Time swore up and down that, you know, them his streets ain't nobody messing with him the whole night. Yeah, Big Time wanted something. You know what I'm saying? So
Of course.
I don't know. His father probably ended up being the most genuine one that he came across that, you know, as far as the folks that had something to gain.
Well, his mom would be the most genuine one. But that was before he was famous.
Yeah.
But then her sister, his aunt, said she
True.
didn't want nothing to do with none of that as
True.
well. So, and you know, there's a theme. It was the black women, the adult black women that held him down. That's interesting. I just thought about that. It was the adult black women that held him down. I did not think about that until just now.
Now, the one thing about that though, and you're absolutely right, but if we're talking about some people that wanted something from him, I would just still say it was Jake, because his aunt didn't really want nothing from it. It was her husband. Remember,
Right.
yeah, the aunt didn't really, baby show decision. No, we this and the third. She didn't really come at him about taking no money and doing all this stuff. It was, his uncle Bill Nunn's character. So I'm just speaking from the aspect of folks that had something to gain. I mean, of course, the aunt had something to gain because he was going to break them off or whatever. He said he told the uncle, when I get whatever, you think I'm going to forget about y'all? But she won't nudging him about money. You know what I'm saying? Or anything else.
Yeah. Jake had one hand to play. He had one hand to play, and he chose not to be straightforward with him from the jump, which he could have done. And he tried to backyard it to get him to do what he wanted him to do. I don't know. I don't know. I'm having a hard time figuring out who's the most genuine of the snakes. Who's the most genuine snake of all? So I don't know.
That'd be a good poll question. Anybody watched it recently? I might try to put it up on Twitter somewhere. But that's great, man. So, and then of course, like I said, he goes to the school and it ends, and then they have the one scene to me, which was, to an extent, was kind of, I don't know, Space Jam-ish a little bit. When we have the scene where, of course, Jake is back in the prison yard shooting basketball, and the prison guard's watching him. And then there's a point where he starts walking towards the wall. And what got me was like, is y'all really going to shoot that man for walking towards that wall? Was pretty tall. Like, so, I mean, unless you really thought, and there was like, there's no other wall on the other side of that, or no barbed wire, or you really thought that he could scale that wall without, a lot of effort. Prison guard holding the gun on Jake, like, Jake, don't do it, don't do it. And all Jake does is takes the ball and throws it over the wall. And then, ironically, we saw during this time period that Jesus was in the gym shooting basketball. And as Jake throws the ball over the wall, a basketball just comes from out of nowhere in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of looks some old Space Jam types of the way I looked at it. But, and I took that as just like, I'm passing on something. Or like, or Pops, I got you, I got you, Pop. We might, we might not have all this, you know what I'm saying? This great relationship. And I may never have a great relationship with you, but you did, instill something in me, or I felt something from, everything we went through in that past week. You really made me think. So I don't know if that's what Spike was trying to get across, but
That was the longest yard scene.
Oh, another good. We did the original.
Both of them. The game ball. Yeah.
Indeed. And so I guess unless you got something else, man, it's time to rate the movie.
Nah, that's it. Oh no. Wait. What did I thought I had one last thing. Must not have been important. Nope, I'm good.
All right, so we always rate the movies, of course. 5 beers is the highest. The highest, of course, 1 beer or 0 beers would definitely be the lowest. I'll go ahead and give you mine. This particular movie, even upon rewatch, going back and seeing things that I had forgotten about or maybe I'm noticed, and taking it for what it was, remembering the time period when this movie was made, remembering, as we mentioned earlier, that uh, some are seasoned actors, some probably never acted before outside of the drama class in high school. All things and all, and taking to the fact that it's a Spike Lee film. When I watch a Spike Lee film, I know what I'm going to get in a lot of movies. Some stuff is not going to be believable. Some things are going to be a little over the top. Some things, I'm not going to lie, I love Spike can be a little corny, right? But that's, hey, who am I to tell Spike how to make his movies, right? But taking all that into account, I'm going to give it, to me, I give it a solid, it's 3 beers for me. Good story. Um, I told you I could do without some of the adult, some of the sex scenes in the movie, and that. And but overall, I just a solid 3 beers for me on a scale of 3 to 5.
Dang, that's tough, bro. That's
Yeah.
tough. I give it 4 beers. 4 beers and a shot, maybe. 4 beers
Okay.
and a shot. Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. Overall, it's one of my favorite basketball movies.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I enjoy it. So, probably 4 beers. Give it a solid 4 beers.
All right. It's 4 beers. 4 beers for you. I'll take it at 3 beers, which to me is still a good movie, in all in all. And that was a good one there. And so yeah, that's the first one of the season right there. I think we're gonna come back with our next movie. Is actually I think we're gonna do Brown Sugar. So we're gonna
Yeah.
stay away from the sports movie, but Ben, for a lot of reasons. One, as we so now Lathan is in it. Number 2, we are in the 50th year of hip hop, and that is a love and a hip hop movie.
Love and hip hop.
And it's got hip hop is in it. So that will be our next film, probably next week. We was something within the next week or two. We're gonna knock that out. So y'all be on the lookout for that.
And it's not a sports movie, but it does have a little bit of sports in it.
It does. It actually does. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to doing that one as well as I did this one. If you're checking this out for the first time, we are the SBP Sports Bar Podcast. Running back is one of the things that we do, one of our favorite things. But we are over on Facebook as well, the SBP, where we talk sports, hip hop, television, and movies, and a bunch of other stuff. But those are our main things. So we invite you to go over and click that button and join the group, and let's have some fun. For my boy Source, we're going to sign off out of here. Catch y'all on the next one. And I hope you enjoyed this episode of Run It Back. He got game.
Yes,
Catch y'all
sir.
next time.
It might feel good. It might sound a little something.